Ciao Juventini and welcome to episode 92 of the All JuveCast. And as promised, I got another couple of Juventini and we're going to continue previewing the return to action with Juventus. I have Auber joining me and Graeme, both no strangers to the podcast. We know their stories, how they became Juventini. Guys, how are you doing?
Very good. Good to be here, nice and early in the morning. UK side.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, opposite ends, late at night here and early in the morning there, but glad we can make it work. We're going to preview the return to action. So let's start off with how we felt. I like to hear how Juventini thought we left off before the stoppage. So let's start off with Auber and get your thoughts on how you felt about Sarri's Juventus prior to the pandemic, obviously, and play being stopped.
I think it's maybe for Juventini, I feel the same. Probably it's a welcome break in a very strange way. I think, with the new manager coming in place, imposing his new style of football, we haven't seen that, all of us. And I think possibly this break is, in a way, could be, I'm trying to be positive here, a blessing in disguise, saying that we'll take a pause, regroup, and hopefully, come this Friday, we will see a different Juventus. Now, it'll be interesting to see how we can. To me, it'll look like, for me, it's like the start of a new season because of that. It feels like that gap, like near 2-3 months, and hopefully we will see some sort of improvement. But obviously, I'm no illusion that there'll be match fitness issues here, etc. But prior to the break, I think I was just a bit disappointed that we haven't seen this. I want to say sorry ball, but just a new philosophy of football. So I'm just hoping stop break, put that behind, and let's hopefully start afresh now. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And Graeme, for you to touch on your thoughts and your feelings with Juve prior to the stoppage.
To be honest with you, mixed emotions because I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but it feels like a lifetime ago. But from what I remember, we had the Leon debacle. That was awful. Less said about that, the better. So that was horrible. Wasn't happy about that. And we got beat by Leon in the round of 16 in the first leg. But then we went on to, I think it was Inter straight after it. And, despite circumstances, that was a great performance. And we had a wonderful goal from Dybala. So it looked like, you had two ends of, two extremes from Juventus, which, you're sort of used to at this point. And it just felt, when we played against Inter and that performance and that win and a great goal, it just felt like everything was fit together perfectly for that one game. And you were thinking to yourself, let's carry that on to the next game. Come on, get some momentum going. And, this could be a great season now. And it just got put on hold. And, there was a point where we didn't even think we were going to have any football again until, next season, possibly August, September, whatever it would have been. So, yeah, mixed feelings. I'm just hoping that, possibly our best performance this season was in an empty stadium. And that's exactly what we're going to be playing in for a month. So, maybe we'll be watching brilliant performances. But that'll take some time, obviously, with the rustiness. So, I'm expecting us to be. It's going to be like pre-season performance-wise for a while, I think.
Yeah, it'll take some. There'll be an adjustment period for sure. No doubt in my mind. 3 of our players had the virus too, so I'm kind of skeptical to see how these guys, are gonna be able to perform and whatnot. Maybe not Rugani so much as far as playing time, but he will become part of the rotation. We have to rotate, being in such a tight, condensed schedule. But how do you guys feel about Sarri then? Do you think he was starting to figure out his best 11? Like, would you guys say we had a set best 11 and you knew what our best 11 was? Let's start with you, Graeme.
They finally dropped Pjanic. So that was a start, Bentancur, he had a brilliant game, and that was a warning for Pjanic. That was like, look, we all thought you were going to be a key player. You were going to be starting. You were going to be, a key player for the squad and the tactics. And Sarri ball, we all saw or heard the interview where Pjanic was expected to have something like, I don't know, 1,000 touches or passes or something along those lines. So he got dropped. So, that was a warning for him. If you don't, buck up your ideas and start performing, you could be dropped and Bentancur will take your place. So, who knows how that will have affected him. But, it's at times during the season, I don't think he's had his set 11. We went into the season, everyone fit, and then suddenly, bang, Chiellini's injured, bang, Douglas Costa's injured, and he had to shuffle it up a bit. So players were coming back, and he was going to have like a bigger squad to choose from. So I think he was beginning to figure out what he was going to do. And then obviously we got in the pause, season got paused, so we'll never know if he actually did. But he's had about 2 or 3 months now to sit on it and think about it. So hopefully he's figured it out by now.
Yeah. And Auber, what about you? What are your thoughts on Sarri? Was he starting to figure it out, or do you think it was much of the same, just kind of hit and miss with Juve?
I think just very quickly on that point, I think the fact is that when he first joined, I think the board were no illusion that he's got the team he has. Don't expect to have a revolutionized squad and have all these players come in. And I generally think that he's a good coach. We have a reasonably good squad, and I think he says, okay, see how we go this year. Obviously, we need to reinforce a couple of positions, which I did with De Ligt, etc. But I honestly think this year will be just. And I know Nedved said it's not a test run yet, but I mean that's just for publicity. I generally think he'll be with us next year, and I think that what would be key for him is the transfer season coming up, which is now from September till November, whenever that is now. But I wouldn't say he's using the best that he has at the moment. And I still don't think he has the players that suit his style yet. And I know we've talked about Pjanic just touch, and I think the idea was he was our Jorginho in a sense, touch ball pass, 1,000 touches a game or something silly, But I don't see him having the team he needs at the moment. Even though we've got some good players like Ronaldo, Dybala, some great players like that, De Ligt, and But I think more is to come. I think next season will be the defining season for Sarri.
All right, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, you've got fans on both sides of the spectrum. You have fans that, and I'm kind of in the middle, to be honest, because you got the fans that say, well, he should be able to at least get better than what we've seen with the team he has. And then you have the ones that say, well, we can't fairly judge him until he gets the guys he wants, right? And yeah, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I think we have a decent enough team. We should see a little bit better football than what we've got, or at least a little more consistency. But yeah, to probably see his true style come out, he's going to need the guys suited for it. So it'll be interesting to see. Throughout this break and whatnot, obviously a lot of rumors coming up and all that, and transfers and whatnot. But as we get closer to the action resuming, scenarios got brought forward of what the league was going to do, what was going to happen. And you had potentially a playoff. You had trying to play the remainder of the games out. You had a playoff, and then now you've got a algorithm that will create the final standings. Championship will not be awarded through that, but these are all scenarios that are still in effect, because apparently if there are cases that break through amongst the clubs, they're shutting it down apparently. I want to get your guys' thoughts on, because we do have fans that some are saying don't even bother continue it and just canceling the season. So I just want to get your thoughts on where you guys stand with the different scenarios and what your thoughts and what your beliefs are. Let's kick it off with you, Auber. And what do you think the right thing to do is? Do we play it all out? How do you feel about the playoffs? How do you feel about this algorithm? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you look at football whole, not just the Juventus and Serie A, you look at France and Belgium. They kind of shut this season down. It's finished now. Whilst England, the almighty Premiership, are going to kick off soon. You had Scotland; they've done it as well. They've finished off their season. I mean, it's very dependent. I think we need to compare it. I mean, this was a global pandemic, and I think fans need to look at it as a global view and not just a micro view of what Serie A. Um, what's the likelihood of any player, getting coronavirus again? It's quite high. I mean, it's what happens then? So it could be one player from Verona and bang, and we shut the season down. So I get what I get. Look, I see the fans. You see on different social platforms, they want to see games happen behind closed doors. Fine, it's not the same, but at least we get some sort of football. But the football I've seen so far, the German football, it's not been that great, and I definitely am not a fan of the kind of knockout stage Serie A. Look, because that's really like pot luck. If you on the day you need to perform, and if you have a bad day, Serie A, if you have one bad match, it's not going to define your season, right? You can have another game to recoup. You can have two more games to recoup. Where if you have this knockout stage, you have one bad game, one player plays bad, like Ronaldo, almighty Ronaldo has one bad game, and then bang, we're out. And that's I think the best thing to do is look, Serie A is going to go ahead, we like it or not. And if there's going to have this coronavirus, there's a virus is going to happen. If there's going to be a player knocked out, that's it. Then close the season. I personally, in my view, is no one obviously wins the Serie A. We show the Serie A, and the teams that get promoted, I would say from Serie B to Serie A, get promoted. No one gets relegated, and next season 5 teams get relegated. Right, and that way it will kind of even out the season after. So we'll have more teams next year, more games next year, and that's the way I see it.
That's pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting thing to do too. Yeah, with the teams being promoted and whatnot, we'll have a little bit more. We'll have a few more games and whatnot. Yeah. It's interesting. Anyways, Graeme, what's your take on the possible scenarios and whatnot?
I mean, to begin with, from a sporting point of view, like whatever happens, even if the season's played out in the pitch, it's going to be a tainted title. With the massive pause and it's like congested fixtures and 2 games a week or whatever it's going to be, regardless of the result, it's always going to be tainted. Whether it's Juventus or someone else, people will point the finger and go, well, the only reason you won that was because of, a global pandemic, and empty stadiums and so on. But I mean, like, the whole time I've been thinking to myself, over the past month or so, I've not really been overly pro the league coming back, because especially when they're coming out with these rules where all it takes is one individual to test positive for coronavirus, and then they just pull the carpet out from underneath you, and that's it over. But now they've added this stipulation where, well, the season, it won't be over. We'll either go to a playoff or an algorithm or something, and I'm pretty sure earlier on, maybe a month or so ago, the clubs voted against that. They weren't in favour of a playoff system. So now the thing that the clubs weren't in favour of would be the decider to see who wins the league and who qualifies for European places. So it's just a bit of a farce to me, really.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to think about this, and say we get a few match days in, right? Say a team starts to break away at the top, but now all of a sudden they can't resume and they got to go to this playoff thing. Well, my God, it's just you would have to make that decision, in my opinion, from the get-go. So I think, like, essentially they just need to commit. If you're going to try to attempt to play out the league, then you need to see it through. And should these situations arise, you need to have those answers prior. Because if you're trying to play this out through, you get 2 match days in, some swing happens in there, and now all of you're saying, well, this doesn't matter, we're going to go to a playoff. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that whatsoever, right? This whole season as it stands is even playing out the rest of the matches is going to have this asterisk next to it. You know what I mean? You're going to have the teams like they're already saying, well, Juventus is going to no longer have to worry about Coppa Italia and Champions League, because Coppa Italia will be played first, and then Juventus can play Serie A and focus on that. So it takes that advantage that Lazio had away from them, and it's already being said. So I just think the league as a whole needs to be crystal clear, make that decision, and just play it out if you're going to play it out, or choose this playoff thing. Auber, you want to touch on this point here? Go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly. It's just that the fact is, just to sum up on that point, right? We don't want to, we don't want to win this by a technicality off the pitch, because it will forever be lived off by Mad FC and telling us how we won it off the pitch, just like they've done it back in the past. Firstly, secondly, I know that, I have a feeling you can see Coppa Italia, first game, final. So I want to get a cup out of the way. So at least one cup's played, right? And I think Serie A committee, and not being Mr. Negative here, they're just a shambles. When they did that racism thing a few years ago or a year ago with the paintings of it's just they don't seem to know what they're doing. And I think they literally say, okay, let's get these games out. We might be lucky. We have all our games played out. If not, we'll just can it, right? It's not very clear, right, from day one. You say, we'll start on the 14th, we start on the 17th of June, 20th of June, and it's all back and forth. So, I'm not surprised that Coppa Italia is in the front. Let's get out the way. There's only a few games left, and bang, let's get out the way. But like I said, I think to your point, Al, it's just I think they're just punting to hope for that we will able to go through the season without any injuries or with coronavirus that will affect the game. So it's just shambolic, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, what would you think? What would you think if that scenario occurred? Say we get a few match days into the league. Say Juventus wins a couple and Lazio drops points, but then all of a sudden a couple cases break out, and now we go to a playoff. How would you feel?
No. Honestly, sod that. No, I didn't. Listen, the players, and I'm not finding Tito from Lazio would say, "Oh, let's do playoffs." Of course, because against this season, Lazio, I admit it, Lazio have been better than us, right, on the pitch, right, one-on-one, if you were to say that. But no, I think it's silly. Look, you either just call it off, and that's it. But you made a valid point. What happens if we do? I wouldn't say Liverpool, where you're like 18 points ahead, but say if we like 10 points ahead, and we have, there's 20 points still in it. What do you call then? So do we feel unjustly done and say, well, look, we could have won the Serie A? Or is it the same scenario if we're only 1 point ahead like we're currently now? So to me, the honourable thing, as Agnelli would say, is just don't award it to anyone. Call it quits. End of.
Yeah. Graeme wants to get in on this point. Go ahead, man.
Well, like in a normal season, long-time Juventus fans or long-time fans of Italian football, they know how paranoid that league can be and the fans around it can be on a normal day. And, after the Inter game, when we won, we went top of the league, and then suddenly, the season gets put on pause, and then all the conspiracy theories were coming out with, oh yeah, that's convenient. As soon as Juventus are in front of Lazio, top of the league's been put on hold, or they're going to hand them the league title, they're just going to decide it then and there. So can you imagine if, it's tight at the top for a week or two, and then next thing, the Juventus player tests positive, and then that's it, the season's scrapped. And, fans would be like, oh, that's convenient. Sorry, I got it the wrong way about. Like, if Juventus were second or something, and then all of a sudden someone tests positive, there'd be conspiracy theories everywhere about it.
I think in reality, even say it's a tight race, say we're still even ahead, a point or whatever, something happens, it goes to a playoff. Even if we win that playoff, it would be like, oh, well, Lazio didn't get to see out the remainder of their games. It would happen, I feel, regardless to Juve. It's just Serie A has been built on that for our 8-year streak now. You've got an owner just coming into the league with Fiorentina that's already jumping on that, trying to spearhead this revolt, right? And it's ridiculous. So I think we would see it either way. But I do agree with you guys. Like, it's just, they need to just make a point of making a firm decision on whatever they decide and say, this is it. I don't think there can be so much of a gray area like what we're hearing. It seems like even as we were waiting, right, for the decision, it was like they came out with a date. This is the date, we're going to look to resume action. And then all of a sudden it was like 2 days later, oh, we're going to actually decide on this day if we are going to carry forth with that. It's like, okay. And then prior to even that day coming where it was, decision day, they moved the dates back a couple days, and it's like, what are you guys doing? And throughout all these dates, the theory kept changing. They're going to reward a title. Oh no, there's going to be playoffs. I think it was just handled poorly. And I understand that the league has to do its part working with the government. I understand that the government kind of regulates the sporting events and all that, but I just think it could have been handled a lot cleaner. And still now, I mean, we're 4 days away from the Coppa Italia match against Milan, and there's still rumors coming up of what's going to end up happening. So it just goes to show you, right? Back to Auber's point that Serie A is just really, really messy in these types of situations and just handling things. You brought up the racism one, and that was just absolutely shocking. To be to be in that room when somebody okays that project, like really, really just blows me away. But 4 days away, so we've got the Coppa Italia. We're going to kick it off with that competition. We've got Milan. We know that, again, talking about Juve and conspiracy theories and all this, and that Milan first leg, you had to hear it and read about it from all the Milan fans about how the ref favored us, and they've got quite a few players on suspension going into that match. We know Ibrahimovic just got hurt and whatnot. We've got some injuries of our own, but that first leg was not a good performance by Juve by any means. But with this match coming up 4 days away, let's get some expectations or what your thoughts are. We know that about their suspensions, missing some guys, but they still have the brunt of their guys. Out of the guys that got suspended, I mean, they've got Bonaventura back, who's going to be in there. It looks like Pioli wants to go with the 4-2-3-1 against us, and we've got some question marks on our end. Chiellini, I'm not sure he would have started, to be honest, but he's injured. Higuain's receiving treatment. It looks like the front line is going to be Dybala, Costa, Ronaldo, but even Dybala, we're hearing some light rumors possibly about not being fit. In the midfield, our new signing of Khedira with Bentancur and Matuidi, and probably straight across at the back, nothing of surprise with Quadrado, De Ligt, Bonucci, and Sandro. But let's start off with you, Graeme, and what your thoughts are going into this match. Let's keep in mind, too, I mentioned on the first episode, 7 to 9 million euros, which could be very critical in this particular transfer window, go to the Coppa Italia winners. So I don't think any Juventini should be brushing off his competition this particular season, right? So, Graeme, let's get your thoughts on this upcoming match.
Well, to begin with, it's a competition we definitely need to win, more so than previous seasons. I mean, when you look at all the cups that we can win, you got the Italian Super Cup, the League, Champions League, all these things. Like, the Coppa Italia is very low on the priorities. You want to win it, but if you don't win it, and at least you win the league, then you're not that bothered about it. But you just touched on like the financial element of it. Everyone who's involved will be wanting to get that extra couple of million, like just to help finance, pay wages and maybe bring in another player as well in the transfer window. But just focusing on the game itself, like I'm going into this and I'm not going to focus on the performance. I'm just going to focus on the result, because honestly, I'm not expecting a great performance from either side. Like I said earlier on, I'm expecting a few early games to feel like pre-season friendlies. They're going to have to get their match fitness back. No one in Italian football has match fitness. Absolutely no one. Not even Cristiano Ronaldo. He can be as fit as he wants. He can lift as many weights as he wants. He's not match fit. So as long as we get the result, that's all I'm concerned with. But it's not going to be a walk in the park. That's for sure. And the biggest, it gets a bit of stick, but like the biggest issue for me is Higuain, because we've only got two strikers, because supposedly Ronaldo doesn't like playing as a striker. He wants to start out wide and drift into the centre. So that leaves you with Dybala and Higuain. Well, Higuain's not there now. So because we're so thin in the striker position, we'll have to call up a youth team player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's match fitness. Yeah, I think you're bang on when it comes to this match. It's not going to be pretty whatsoever. At least I'm not expecting it to be. I think the very first 15 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes are going to be really ugly. I think we'll settle down. I think we'll get into a rhythm. We should still overcome Milan, in my opinion. We shouldn't be dropping this game, but I don't think it's going to be easy. But I think we should still see them through. And honestly, I think we should see them through regardless of who we have on the pitch. People could say what they want about Ibrahimovic. Even at his age and whatnot, it's more his presence and how he brings up the other guys on that team. He kind of raises that sense of belief on whatever side he's playing on. He's kind of got that element. That guy being out for them is a big deal. Should help us. For us, it's going to be a lot of the same. What are we going to get? Which Juve are we going to get? And that's going to be the question mark. Is it going to be the Juve that can create a ton of chances and just their conversion rate isn't the best, but they'll see that victory through? Or is it going to be the Juve that can't muster an attempt on goal until 60 something minutes, and it's that drastic. It literally is that drastic. Auber, let's get your thoughts going into this Milan Coppa Italia match.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the lineup, to start off with the lineup, I think that I know I had an exchange with Juventus Belgium on Twitter, and it's a fair point. Every day you see the lineup changing. You mentioned about the lineup. I've seen different. I've heard Dybala is not 100% match fit. Do we risk him? I think they will, because, like you've said, 9 million's on the line here. Now the thing is, back in the day, before this pandemic, Coppa Italia, everyone has a Mickey Mouse Cup. You want to win the Serie A, Champions League. Yeah, it's nice to have another cup in the bag. Don't get me wrong, but let's be honest, it's not the end of the world if we lose the Coppa Italia. But now things have changed. Let's win the bloody thing, It's 9 million on the rope here, right? 9 million in pandemic terms, it's big money. And I'm not going to huge money, but it'll help. So I think that will shift the focus of who will be playing. If someone's been in Nigli, not feeling 100%, which is Dybala, I still think they'll play him. But the lineup in the midfield, yeah, we've said this before. You've mentioned it before, about Khedira being in the middle of the park. Unfortunately, as we all know, that's already disadvantaged us for 60 minutes anyway, because we know what's going to happen in the 60th minute anyway. And if we're playing Douglas Costa as well, so we know come the 60th minute, Douglas Costa, Khedira are off. So I'm not too sure about that. I've seen multiple sources. It will be Ramsey in the park with Matuidi and Bentancur. Yes, and Ramsey we're in the same ballpark as Khedira being subbed off. But the lineup, I mean, it's pretty predictable at the back. Midfield, I think, fun enough, Matuidi's a guarantee, and Bentancur that we've seen. But we'll see what happens. The game itself, it will be rusty. You guys know me well. I have zero sympathy for footballers. For the money they get paid, they should be putting out a complete performance. But granted, match fitness is different to normal fitness, as in normal cardio fitness that we know. But it will be a horrendous game to watch. But I think at the end, we will triumph 2-1. Milan will go in the lead early, 1-0. We'll be playing absolute dog shite, and we'll be moaning and complaining. And we'll come through. From the 70th minute, we'll come through. We'll score a goal. It will be the momentum with us, and we'll have a cheeky goal at the end. So it's a 2-1. It won't be the best game, but remember, guys, we talk about Juventus is going to be awful for us, but also Milan are coming out of this pandemic as well. And this long, no one knows. After 3 months, we're all in the same boat here, right? I think, and to your point, Al, you mentioned about Ibrahimovic. Yes, he's old, but he's a maverick. He just needs that one backheel pass, and gosh, he's done the godly touch of managing to pass the ball through the eye of the needle. You know what I mean? So I'm glad he's not playing. I think it's going to be a tough game to watch for fans. Empty stadium, but we're at home. My expectation is that we should win. It will be dirty 2-1 at the end, and it will be. You'll just see rust coming out of that game. And if we don't win, it's worrying signs, because if we don't beat this Milan squad, I don't know what will happen when we have that fixture coming up in Serie A that we talked about before, which we'll touch soon. It look dire for us. But overall 2-1 for us.
Yeah. Graeme, do you want to throw out a prediction?
I'd probably go with the same scoreline, but it wouldn't be good for my heart if Milan take the lead and we have to wait till the 70th minute to score. But yeah, along the same lines, I'm not expecting a clean sheet. Both teams are going to be rusty. Both teams have zero match fitness. But I'm expecting us to win, regardless. You got to beat Milan. You got to go to the final. And like Auber just touched on, if you can't beat Milan in the first day back, then what does that say about the games that are coming up?
Yeah. I'm going to go 3-1 because I'm going to go with Juve adding a late one when Milan tries to make a push. I'll make a push.
You usually do your 3-0 and 2-0, and now you've learned. At least you got a goal in against us. You've learned finally. It's taken you half a season.
Yeah. All right. So Serie A now. After Coppa Italia is played out, Serie A begins, and then of course Champions League. Serie A with such a tight, condensed schedule. How do you guys feel in terms of our squad being able to manage that, being able to deal with that from all aspects? Do you think Sarri's going to be able to rotate enough to handle it? Do you think he's got no choice and he's going to be forced in to do it? Do you think he's going to be stubborn with certain guys? Like, how do you think we cope? Some fans are saying we're built for it because of our depth. I personally don't know if I agree with that, but yeah, let's just get your thoughts. Auber, let's start with you and just Juventus managing with the condensed schedule. What are your thoughts? How are we going to cope?
I see this as the time for players who haven't shown this season and who are on the last chance saloon. So like Benedeschi, funny enough saying Pjanic, because he's had a decent career with us, but this season and the kind of half of last season was a bit dropped again. But I think this is the last chance saloon. So for players like, which I unfortunately have to say Benedeschi, if he doesn't step up, I think this is the telling time. When players like him don't step up, I think sayonara, see you later, ciao ciao, arrivederci, because we're going to be stretched. I think I can see our Serie B moment, right? Players we didn't think of. So, for example, Graeme touched on part. Players from under 23 squad are going to be pivotal to this. Oliveira's come up from the strike force. He's come down. I think we'll see a few more under 23 players coming through. This could be a good time. We can see some players we've never heard of, and really are hungry and desperate. This is their platform to shine, that we could find a couple of gems. Now that means being very optimistic. We will be stretched. I cannot see, we have an aged squad. People say we have depth. If you and I spoke about this to about 2.5 years ago, think, we got Benedeschi, Costa, Ronaldo, this, all these players, Higuain, and you think, wow, yeah, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, and Mandzukic at that time, Right now, Higuain's injured. We've got Ronaldo, Dybala playing false nine, and we've got no one else. I mean, you've got Costa and you've got Benedeschi, but not an out-and-out strikers, right? We don't have anyone else. So I see two things to this period, right? We're going to see a lot more under 23 players coming through. We're going to see the subsystem, apparently, as you mentioned before, I think in your last thing, about five subsystem coming in.
Yeah.
This would be this defining moment. So we've got two things, right? Two layers. Defining moment, like the Marchisio moment in Serie B. He came up and shone. So we'll have the under 23 players coming in. and we'll have a few of them, and hopefully they will shine. And the second layer is players on last chance saloon, Bernardeschi and those guys, because they really need to step it up. Because if they don't, honestly, guys, when the club needs them and they need to be scoring goals, assists, causing damage to other teams, and if they're not doing this and we're not seeing it on the pitch, it's fine. That's the nail in the coffin for me. But we're going to be stretched. But look, guys, remember, all other teams are going to be stretched. Huh? All other teams are going to be stretched. We're all in the same boat here. So I know a lot of us are quite hard on Juventus. We expect a lot because we were a championship. We're a champion team, right? Serie A perennial winners. But we're all in the same boat here. So it's going to be interesting. It will be interesting. We will be stretched.
Yeah, Graeme, your thoughts?
I mean, touching on the topic of like depth, we've got depth in certain positions. The goalkeeper, we're sorted. We've got Szczesny and Buffon. Centre backs, when everyone's fit, which unfortunately everyone isn't fit right now. You've spoiled for choice with that. The full-back position, there is depth, but that's only because we converted a winger into a right-back position in Cuadrado. The midfield's always everyone's pet peeve. There's plenty of depth in there. We just don't like the personnel. But in attack, funnily enough, that's our issue. There's not enough numbers in attack. We've only got, as I said earlier, we've only got Dybala right now because Higuain's out injured. And the thing is, in a normal scenario, if someone gets injured they're out for 2 weeks, it's no big deal. But if you're injured for 2 weeks, you're going to miss 4 games at the very least. So that could be like half the remaining season. So it's a big deal when someone gets injured for a week or two now. And like Auber touched on, like I see we do have depth. I see too many players that live up to the club's nickname, old lady. They're just they're on the wrong end of 30, and now they're going to have to play some role twice a week. Whether it's a full 90, highly unlikely, but they will have to play some minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we are literally going to need everybody. And this is just kind of one of the things I've been thinking about because of the certain individuals we have that just have been overrun prior to this, right? Now you don't have that luxury because they literally won't make it. The other thing too is, Auber brings up the guys that are on last chance saloon, right? Well, how do we also protect the guys that we need to make deals for, that are going to be those outgoing transfers? Because this is going to be a very, very tough thing for Juve, I feel, and I'm not really sure how it's going to play out. You've got matches, 3 days apart. You'd bring up the likes of Bernardeschi, who still holds some value, especially in Italy. Like, you got to move this guy, but at the same time, you're going to need him. Because, again, with the forwards, like, Higuain's out, Dybala's out there. And so if Dybala goes there, I have seen, going back to Auber, talking about alterations of the lineup. I saw a couple where it showed Bernardeschi was going to be played as a false 9. Or call it a trequartista, whatever you want, in a 4-3-1-2, and go back to that possible scenario. But this is another thing we have to think about too. We have these guys with all these transfer rumors that have been circulating. Usually when a few names pop up consistently throughout its entirety, that there's going to be a deal coming there. And these are the guys I'm thinking about because we do have to rely on them. Pjanic being one. Bernardeschi, we're going to need him, whether we like it or not. Graeme, you got to touch on this?
Well, just what you're touching on, players that could possibly be sold on in rotation. The days of Alexandro starting every single game, they're gone for at least a month. Especially if you want to sell him on. No one can play every single game twice a week for a whole month. And if you want to have some sell-on value for him, you got to protect him from injury. And he's been playing pretty much what feels like every game for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 2 seasons. So he's got to be rested at some point. So, I'm just going to warn Juventus fans, at some point, you're probably going to see De Sciglio and Danilo start a game for us at some point. It's got to happen.
Multiple, for sure. Auber.
You know what? But here's one for you boys. Bernardeschi does step up. And he's now, the last half of the season, has an absolute blinder I'm just hypothetically speaking, and the players we think are getting shipped out, what happens then? What's the story then? What's the transfer strategy then? Oh, Bernardeschi stepped up. Now what do we do? So what do you think, El and Graeme, on that one?
That's a tough one, man. It would have to be pretty lights out performances for him to change my mind, and we're talking if it's like a couple stellar performances mixed with some not so bad ones, like I don't really know, like it really depends what kind of performance are we talking, like if he's you know in on half of the goals the remainder of the year, like playing crucial role, yeah, maybe you look at moving somebody else ahead of him, right? I mean, then you start to weigh out Douglas Costa and his injuries are an issue. That's just something that can't go away. It's just part of him. If Bernardeschi all of a sudden turns it around, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you start saying, well, hold on a second. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to come in the positions we've seen him, which is Trequartista under Sarri or whatnot. Like, I think, honestly, if we were going to get the most out of him, it would have to be if he had enough time. And this is the thing, we've kind of burnt up our time with Bernardeschi. But if he had enough time, like now, I don't know. I think he should have never been left off of the winger role when he came in. He had that one good year for us working off the right side. I don't think we ever should have moved him, and then when he started getting all this different stuff with Allegri, Mitsala and all this, I don't know. He changed too, right? And I'm not sure. It would have to take a spectacular finish to the season right now to change my mind, but it's interesting. Graeme, what do you think if all of a sudden Bernardeschi goes lights out?
Well, I already know what would happen. He would have a brilliant month of football for us, which would change most fans' opinion of him. We would keep him, and then once we come back for next season, he would go back to being average Bernardeschi. Like it's
Contract extension.
Like, oh yeah, of course, wage hike as well. Like the thing about him is he had one really good season with us, his debut season, and then it's been very sporadic when it comes to like breakthrough performances that stand out to you. I mean, there's only a handful of games, and most of them are in his debut season outside of that Atletico Madrid 3-0 game. So he's been with the club for something like 3 seasons, and he's just not stood up. He's not made the mark for most of that. So that wouldn't change my opinion on him if he's great for a month, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's tough. Like I said, it would have to be a really, really drastic change. It would have to just be, I don't know, it would take a lot. But the other thing we get into now is just there's a lot of guys we could move, that we could do without. Let's get some of your guys' like, it's time to part ways. Like, Auber labels him as last chance saloon. Like, give me your list. We'll start with you, Graeme, of guys we need to just part ways, cut the cord.
Well, to begin with, he's been one of my favourite players over the past few seasons, but Higuain's got to go. He has been a good signing for us. He has been a good player for Juventus. He's scored crucial goals. That can't be denied, but he's getting on a bit in age. I think he's like 32 years old. He's a very, very temperamental player. Like, if he's not in the mood, then he's not performing, and you don't need players like that. They're useless on the pitch. So, and he's on big wages as well. We need to start looking towards, like other clubs are doing, bringing in younger players, because there's several players in that squad that are getting on in age. Chiellini is another one. How long is he gonna even be in the first team for? I mean, he's in his mid-30s now and he's injury prone. Douglas Costa, he's a talented player, but like players like him, they rely on their speed, and the older they get, the more injury prone they get, because they're just their acceleration, and they're going to have hamstring injuries and muscle injuries throughout a season. That's just natural. So if you can get a good bid for him, I would definitely sell him on and reinvest in the squad. So that would be Higuain, Douglas Costa, one of Ramsey or Rabiot, preferably. It's a tough one. Ramsey's impressed me at times, but he's injury prone, and Rabiot is just, well, Rabiot. So I would prefer to sell Rabiot on, but then you've got yet another injury prone midfielder. You know, we've already got Khedira. Selling Khedira is a pipe dream. He's probably going to leave on a free transfer at the end of his contract, whenever that is, if the club would stop renewing the thing. And who else have we got? Like, Alexandro's an interesting one. Like, he's the biggest player you can sell in the defence. I'm not going to include De Ligt, because De Ligt, you shouldn't be selling him on, especially after one season. And if you get a big bid for Alexandro, you could reinvest in the squad. You could possibly even bring in 2 fullbacks if you want, because the fullback position is definitely an issue. Like I said earlier on, we've converted Cuadrado into a right back for this season, because we had 3 fullbacks. We had 4. It was Pellegrini, the name escaped me. We had him, and then we loaned him out. And you're thinking to yourself, you've got a left back, a right back. You know, you need at least 2 in each position for good cover, and we only had 3. And then we sort of panicked and thought, well, you know, shove Cuadrado in there. What's the worst that could happen? And to be fair to him, Cuadrado's actually put in some good performances at right back. I think he surprised most of us.
Yeah, I'd agree. I remember my tweet at the start of the season. I go, please God, like, do not tell me Cuadrado is going to be our right back. But yeah, he's actually been okay. Auber, your guys that are on Last Chance Saloon.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting in the last couple of days, as you guys have seen in the news outlets, Allegri possibly can join PSG. He's announced he wants to go back to football, and if you look what's available out there, that PSG seems to be the one that's there. And I honestly think if he does join PSG, Pjanic will go to PSG. And I've been saying this from the get-go. Like, he's going to France. He's not going to Spain. He's going to France. I think that the fans, I think he's getting to an age where he's now, I think he's still sellable. He's still got whole value. But remember, guys, that in these circumstances we find ourselves in, the pandemic has changed the landscape of the transfer season. Right? I think people are, with all due respect, a bit naive to think, oh yeah, let's get these players, Werner and Jesus and all these other players, all these great, fantastic players. Let's throw all these names at Juventus, Mbappe, and like, guys, step back a bit. We've got to think about our wage bill, the plus Valencia players, So I think starting from the back, De Sciglio, definitely off. He's going to be going off. He's worth about 9 mil. We'll get rid of him. He'll be sold. Rugani, I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about that one, because I think Sarri, remember at Empoli, he had Rugani, and when he was at Chelsea, he wanted Rugani. So why come to Juventus? Now he's got the player he wants, to get rid of him. So that one, I don't think that's going to happen. But De Sciglio definitely will be going, in my opinion. And then that's it. I think the backs, we won't touch anyone else. In the midfield, Khedira is Juventus for life, boys. Juve for life. We just should change this to JK. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, he's just not. And then even recently, it's his dream to win. His dream to win Champions League with Juventus. So it's going to be dreaming a lot longer then. So Matuidi, guys. A lot of people have this thing about Matuidi. Look, he's not the best boy on the field. He's got like 2 trampoline feet for when he gets the ball, but he's taken a cut in his contract. He's a World Cup winner. He does put his heart on the pitch. The problem is he just doesn't know how to pass. That's the problem. But he's staying. Pjanic will be going. Like I said, PSG. For me, my favourite player right now, Juventus, is Bentancur. He's going to be, to me, he's the future star for Juventus, right? After Dybala, of course, and De Ligt. But Bentancur is my next man. He's going to be there. He's going to be the beating heartbeat of that team. Then you look at Douglas Costa. He's made of glass. I hate to see it, guys. I don't get me wrong. Who's not excited to see Douglas Costa when he's warming up on the pitch and he does that little running from the sideline to inward and the pitch is running? It's like, thank God we've got a player who can do that. But then after 10 minutes, he's pulled up a hammy or he's shattered his whatever, you know. He's always got, and then he's playing tempo bowling and running with flip flops, doing 100 meters with his missus on the go kart. You know, so that guy, unfortunately, you know, hasta luego. You know, Ramsey. I disagree with Graeme on that point. Juventus knew that Ramsey's injury prone, right? They're not silly, right? Okay, they're paying a lot of salary, but we haven't paid a big transfer bill for him, right? As in zero. And I can tell you guys, living in North London, a lot of the Arsenal fans would welcome back Ramsey arms wide open, right? And that tells you a lot. Right? Okay, they've got a dog shite team at the moment, but still, the Ramsey, when he's on song, he's untouchable, guys. He's untouchable, and don't. And one of those signs when he had that one-touch football with Higuain and he scored. I mean, that's Ramsey gold, Ramsey-esque gold, right? And I'm a big fan of Ramsey. He's a great guy. He's studying Italian. When he came to the club, he introduced himself in Italian. He's made an effort, right? So I want to give that guy the chance at least another season, if not one more, another season after that, right? Rabiot, au revoir. You know, I think disappointed. We knew what we were getting. This guy with his mother as an agent, he's quite a temperamental guy. And he did look a bit classy. He had a bit of good touches there, good few games. And he looked good. And I was like, wow, you know, Rabiot for free, you know, French international, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he's you know, throwing all the... So much you can believe what they say in the media. But apparently Ancelotti from Everton wants to throw 30 million. All right, see you later. Take the 30 million. See you later. So Rabiot's off. Higuain up front. I agree with Graeme. I mean, I'm a big Higuain fan. People say, oh yeah, paying 90 million for a 28-year-old turning 29. Yeah, but look what he's done for us, guys. I mean, I know you're a bit contradicted to this idea, but we weakened Napoli on a huge back. I mean, they were getting their heads a bit too big, right? Winning Serie A halfway through the season, Higuain scoring 20-odd goals, blah, 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 and we weakened them. I mean, if you guys notice, since we've taken Higuain off of their plate, they haven't been the same team. But Higuain probably go to River Plate. He'll probably go to River Plate, play close to his mum. His mum's not well. Most Argentinians do that anyway. They go back home, you know. That's where their heart is. And the football's great. Look at Tevez. He's gone back. Saviola. All these players have gone. Recalm. All of them have gone back. So, yeah, Higuain coming back. So those are the players. So, and didn't mention Bernardeschi because we spent 40 million. And if there's no one going to come in with that kind of money back, I can't see Juventus trying to lose money on him. So I think we either do a swap deal for a player with his equivalent value, or he's staying. I know. Yeah.
Zaniolo. Graeme, what do you feel about Auber's comments there?
Well, I mean, like, just to touch on Ramsey, I'm a fan of his. I like him. He's been a good player for us. It's just, as soon as I saw that we signed Rabiot and Ramsey on free transfers, my first thought was one of those guys is going to be sold for a profit.
Yeah.
Because that's usually how it works with Juventus. Like, I think Juventus mainly operate from like most football clubs, from a business point of view rather than a sporting point of view. So I think, you know, Juventus always look to capitalise on bringing in a free transfer, because in the back of their mind they think to themselves, we aren't spending any money, any transfer fee on this guy. We'll bring him in, we'll sell him on for whatever, and that's going to count towards a profit on the books. So as soon as I saw Ramsey and Rabiot, I just immediately thought one of them are being sold. And despite Ramsey being a little injury prone, no, more than a little, he's definitely performed better than Rabiot, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it was a huge switch when when Sarri finally gave up on that trequartista role. When Ramsey got moved back into that Mezzala, it was a whole different ballgame, and he's been miles ahead of anybody else in the midfield since moving over to that spot. No doubt. I mean, yeah, those are all the usual suspects right now in the conversations. You could see why all of them move. I could definitely see how we could get caught with some of these guys, especially in this particular Mercado. That's why I say it's all going to be interesting how it unravels, and injuries too. Good luck during Mercado after pandemic trying to move a guy who's been injured or has an injury. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? So our injury list will probably dictate more than anything what happens in the Mercado, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. before we touch on our last little bit here, guys, this discussion's been awesome, but we're going to finish off with predictions on each competition. But real quick, some of the latest news. Forward that apparently has reached agreement with Juventus, Arkadiusz Milik. I just want to hear, I already know, I think, because I've seen the tweets, but let's kick it off with Graeme. Your thoughts on Milik?
Bringing in another injury-prone player. Yay. I don't get it. I don't get it whatsoever. Like, any time I've heard Milik's name brought up since he arrived in Italian football, it's been, oh, he's injured, and it's a long-term injury. And then he comes back, and he's injured again. So I don't see the point in spending money and bringing a player like that. And like we've just seen over the past, couple of months, it's like Juventus just seem to be looking at Serie A and thinking to themselves, okay, that club's interested in him, but we'll sign that guy to stop Inter from signing Kulusevski. Pretty much, that's the one I'm talking about. And then they'll think to themselves, right, well, who can we weaken? Well, who's Roma got? Maybe we could take Zaniolo, which would be a brilliant signing in my opinion. I know he's had like a big injury, but he's young and it's his first injury, so you just don't know. But then they look at Napoli and they go, well, who could be signed from them? We'll take the striker Milik, and it's like, well, no, because I would say that would hurt them more, because you're spending money on an injury-prone player and you're bringing wages to him as well. So, but the idea would probably be bring Milik in and sell Higuain. So that leaves you with an injury-prone striker and Dybala for that one position. And, that doesn't make sense to me whatsoever.
I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an agreement made. And I'd be okay with it if it was a plan B or a plan C. Milik as a player, I have no problems with him as a player. I've said this a bunch of times when we talk about players and like injury history and stuff like that. Like, I mean, ultimately, like his game, I think we need somebody that could sacrifice that much. And he actually has a lot of his game that would probably suit us right now. What concerns me is it going to suit us? Should a change be made? You know what I mean? Because like, I think it suits us right now during this Ronaldo window. But after that, which is going to shut pretty soon, and then we're going to have to do what we have failed to do, which is actually build off of Dybala, as long as he stays, you know. But we got to stop. We need to start building off the new spine that we have. You guys talk about Bentancur, Dybala, De Ligt, Demiral. Like, we need to start building off these guys and build around them and suit their strengths. We know Dybala is at his best as a second striker. We need to start going to that. We know that Ronaldo, you get the chance to sign him, you do it, and that kind of changed the focus on how we operate, how we build things. Milik is a plan B or C to me. I wouldn't be surprised if they have an agreement, because that would show me that, again, they're just covering their bases, because in a situation, if they were to get a bigger name or two, possibly, not two elites, but say they got a bigger name and made another splash on some midfielders, so they got a couple midfielders in, Milik probably fits the mold of something that makes sense that they can get to bring in as a forward. Whereas I don't think, these other guys that have been linked, I don't even think we can get them right out of the gate, to be honest with you. The Timo Werner's set to go to the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus, like, good luck prying him out of Pep's hands. It's not going to happen. I'd love to see Gabriel Jesus with Juve. Won't happen. Icardi, it's not over with Icardi, but I don't think so. Not this Mercado, anyways. Maybe next season. Milik's fine. Who else would you go? The talks were of Jimenez from the Wolves. I'd actually be okay with that. Again, it's another short-term option. It'd be a short-term option because of Jimenez's age. He's a couple of years younger than Higuain. But the thing is realistically, our make or break guys, is going to be the midfield. Like, that's going to be our make or break, and it's going to grossly affect who comes up at the front, especially during this pandemic mercado. You're not going to be able to get elite and elite in both those positions. I don't see it happening. Auber.
Yeah. This thing about Milik, it's like, why, and you think, okay, as I agree with you, El, technically left-footed player, technically he's a good player. He got brought into Napoli about 30 million to replace Higuain, and now he's going to replace Higuain at Juventus. That's quite a fairy tale story for Juventus being Napoli's Napoli being the feeder club for Juventus. That's nice label to have. But I personally, he's a great player. He's a good player, not world class. He's a good player, but I don't think, does he fit what Juventus are looking for, what we need for Juventus? I mean, the type of strikers, and maybe we're trying to change the philosophy of football, I don't know. I mean, you mentioned about Jesus, you mentioned about Jimenez. They're not coming to Juventus. I mean, they're great to be at Juventus. Of course not. Why not? But I just can't see it happen. Icardi, I agree, won't happen this season, will happen the season afterwards. But again, it does now depend on Allegri. If Allegri joins PSG, maybe he wants to hold him. He knows, he's a quality striker. People don't like him, or the baggage, blah, blah. But guys, compare Icardi to Arthur from Barcelona. Arthur doesn't want to come to Juventus. Icardi wants to come. He said it publicly. He wants to come. So you would want a player to join your club. But anyway, my point being, with Milik, coming back to point Milik, I'm not.
If an asshole wants to show up to my house party, I'm still not going to have him over.
Yeah, but if the asshole brings all the birds, 20 birds, boom, and the booze, boom, you're gonna invite him.
The only bird that Icardi would bring with him is someone nobody wants in their house.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is like Milik, the people talking about on Twitter about, when we have players join the club, like Szczesny, that no one wanted Szczesny and everything. But Szczesny was a different discussion, right, altogether. He was a proven goalkeeper at Roma, and he was he was brilliant at Roma, right? So with Milik, this season, to be fair, guys, his injury he's overcome that period, but what's stopping him? Not stopping him, but this is fate. Whatever happens, if he gets injured again, then we bug it. I mean, that's the problem. It's how much will we pay? If we're going to pay Napoli 50, 60 million on a player that's about, he's 26, that's double what they paid for him. Napoli will just keep doing this, and Napoli will keep feeding us players. They'll be the Southampton to Liverpool. They'll be like Napoli to Juventus. But no. As a fan, who do I want to come in front? It's a good question. Like, who would you want? I mean, I'm a big fan of Icardi, and you guys know that. But I think you made a valid point, El. The team will be built around Dybala. I think they've realised that, thank God. Dybala will get a contract extension apparently to 2025. Great. So, maybe you do need a target man. Guys, Ronaldo, he's gonna leave us after 2 seasons. Who knows? He's gonna be, So I think they're gonna think about that, right? Yeah. So Dybala is fantastic playing off. To me, you have that Dybala, Del Piero, Trezeguet relationship. Del Piero, Dybala, Trezeguet. People say, Trezeguet, this and that. But people who haven't watched 90s football or early 2000s football, Trezeguet, yes, was lazy as, but that guy could score. He could score. Put him in the box, boom, goal. That goal against Milan when I was there, Del Piero crossed the ball out of nowhere, headed top. He just does it, and that's what I think. Milik will suit Milan. Klasnic. He reminds me of Klasnic for some reason, and he's tall, lanky, and I think he'd be better suited to Milan. I think we just need someone. We say it, Haaland, from Dortmund. I know he's not coming. We've got a good relation with Ronaldo, the Minos. If we're going to get Haaland in 2 seasons, hopefully, you never know, then why would we need Milik then?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Haaland would be unreal. I still wish we would have been able to make that happen. Now would have been unbelievable. But yeah, no, it's good. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, and yeah, maybe, Milic would be the guy, working with Dybala if they're trying to go that road, maybe preparing. But you bring up some good points. It could be just a stopgap move too, right? just to bridge that gap for the next Mercado, which might bring Icardi and his lovely wife, and maybe
All the
Haaland
girls and
after
the
that.
fireworks. Woo!
who knows, right? But it's just interesting to see people's thoughts on Milik. I mean, it was quite drastic today when I saw like just the blatant like, oh my god, just losing. And I'm like, well, at some point you just gotta hope, they gotta understand the make or break for this club is gonna be the midfield. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who you put up front out there in a midfield that includes Khedira and Matuidi. The service is gonna be disgusting. So it's just like our make or break is gonna be the midfield, boys. Auber?
Yeah, just quickly, Juventus like a freebie, boys. So I tweeted a couple of days ago about, and I got the information from Transfer Markets. It's a reliable source, right? There's quite a long list of freebies. So I'm not going to run through all of them, but some of the main ones, right? Mertens it's been verbally agreed, but not signed. So people need to realize it's not been signed yet. So Mertens, Meunier, Cavani, Vertonghen, Kurzawa from PSG, Thiago, David Silva from Man City, Gutes, Pedro, Callillon, Bonventura, and Lallana. So that's quite a lot of oldish players. But knowing Juventus, boys, would you be surprised if you see one of these players coming in? Maybe not Cavani, so, because I know he's apparently Atletico bound. But what do you guys think about that one? On my part, shining part on that one, on freebies.
I wouldn't be surprised to see one out of there. I don't think we'll get a couple again, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised with one again. I would think it would be dependent on what our other moves were. I think this Pjanic thing is going to be the key to the rest of what happens. I think that's the key move for us right now in dictating what we do. Graeme, your thoughts?
Well, if you want a stopgap sign and sell Higuain and bring Cavani in for free.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to quickly go back on like Milik, earlier complaints, myself included. We love Douglas Costa, great player. Aaron Ramsey, great player. And then we complain about them being injury prone. And you want to spend money on a striker that's got an injury history of being injury prone. So like you can't have it both ways. If you're going to complain about current players being injury prone, why do you want to throw on an extra one on top of what we've already got? And as well, what you're saying yourself, Al, we've got Cristiano Ronaldo and Paulo Dybala up front, and the midfield currently can't link up with them. I mean, we all saw this, and it was blatant. We all saw the scenes at halftime at Lyon, in the tunnel, and they knew there was cameras there, and they were saying to each other, blatantly, these guys aren't passing us the ball. So you're going to bring in another striker, you're going to do nothing with the midfield, and you're going to have the same problem over and over again.
I don't think they're not going to bring somebody into the midfield though. And when we get into player injuries, like I don't really actually dive that deep into injuries or whole. Like I haven't held it against Ramsey. I actually liked the Ramsey signing when we signed him. Douglas Costa is beyond injury prone though. Like Douglas Costa is like the guy's out 3 weeks, plays 20 minutes, and he's out another month and a half. Like that's beyond injury prone. Like the guy's posting Instagram videos, and I think he's blowing his hammy out, doing whatever the hell he's doing on those videos. He's beyond it. I just look at like I don't know. I just Cavani too. Like I mean, again, when I look at him as a player, again, he's a good finisher, solid finisher. He's been playing in Ligue 1, and a lot of his goals are from the service, and they're just chewing up those teams, and he's getting some tappers, right? Like I'm looking at that, he's pretty service dependent. I even look at that with Arcardi, and I see him just like service dependent. The only thing with Milic that like I like that say might suit us is that he would give us that same, like he's very, very strong and good with his back to goal and would sacrifice as Higuain would. I don't see Icardi sacrificing. I don't see Cavani sacrificing for the rest of our team. And as long as Ronaldo's there, that position kind of has to do that because it's still always going to evolve around Ronaldo. That's the only reason I'm up with Milic. When we talk about injuries and guys, I still always say like ultimately it would be what we could do on the pitch with the guys, right? That's just how I look at it. I mean, it always comes down on the pitch. Graeme, you brought up a good point too, and there's two sides to it. There's the sporting side and there's the business side, and you're bang on. And I mean, sometimes it's really hard, even as a fan, to decide what side you're on in a certain move. You know what I mean? But I don't think that I would never ever expect Juve to bring in Milik and not address the midfield. But yeah, go ahead, Graeme.
But that.
I mean, you're talking about players sacrificing. I mean, look at Cavani. Cavani's been sacrificing the majority of his time at PSG. First, he had to sacrifice and play second fiddle to Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic leaves, and then Neymar comes in. He has to play second fiddle to him, and possibly even third fiddle to a 20-year-old called Mbappe. So, we're talking about stopgap signings when we're mentioning Milik. If you brought Cavani in, he's going to sacrifice for Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo loves it when he's got a striker that just does everything for him and lets him be the main man. So, and we're expecting Cristiano Ronaldo to leave in 2 seasons. Cavani would very likely leave as well at the same time, and that would free up the wages to bring in 2 fresher players at the same time.
Yeah, I was talking more sacrificing the style of play, not sacrificing like minutes or whatnot.
Right.
I was talking more just the style of play and how they would.
No, I was meaning like a striker that like when you think about a striker, you think a guy that scores goals. But I mean, look at Benzema when Ronaldo was playing with him at Real Madrid. Benzema wasn't the guy scoring the goals. Benzema was the guy dragging defenders out of position and giving the ball to Ronaldo to score. That's more what I meant with Cavani.
Yeah.
When you guys look at this in a whole, right? Just to kind of, I think when we need to, obviously, the circus transfers is always, I always tweet that out at the beginning of this transfers is a circus, because it is a circus. You get linked with all these players, and none of them come in, and then we get like, then suddenly the last few days, Verona, Kumbalu, the defender, blah blah blah, right? To me, two things will be dictated, right? And it already has been shape one. It's you've mentioned it, El. The key is Pjanic. He's probably one of the players in the midfield that he's still got worth value, that people are still interested in him, right? And he's key, but that will be a domino effect, right? That's one. And two, this coronavirus that's buggered everything up, the transfer season. I honestly, and I've said this before, and people are not going to like it, but we're going to become Chelsea 2.0. What I mean by that is, we land on a free, even though he's over 30, we land on a free. Emerson coming in, left back, and Jorginho. Chelsea 2.0.
Why you gotta piss me off right before I gotta go to bed? What you got?
Sweet dreams, sweetie pie.
Midnight over here, Chelsea 2. No, Pedro, Willian, like this is just
business. It's all about business, like you said, man. Emerson's not going to cost us a fortune. Wage bill's not going to cost us. Jorginho could cost us a bit, but maybe we do a swap deal with Benedeschi or Pjanic or something. I don't know Pjanic.
Fortune. Chelsea's going to pay us to take these guys, for Christ's sake. Unbelievable. Oh,
hey, 2 of them are Italian. It's a good deal.
Italian.
On that note, we're going to wrap it up here, man. Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a wild one. There's no doubt. This Mercado is going to be crazy. But getting back to the matches themselves, let's just get your predictions where Juve is going to finish in each competition. Let's go. We'll start with Graeme. Graeme, Coppa Italia.
We're going to get a double. We're going to win the league. We're going to win the Coppa Italia, but I don't see the Champions League happening. Just everything seems to be lining up perfectly for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich were looking really good before the season got put on hold. They've been ahead of us for a couple of weeks now in the Bundesliga. Then they're going to get a little break, whilst all the other leagues are getting played out, England, Spain, Italy. Then they come back and they're going to be in basically a World Cup style tournament, and they're going to be fresh and they're going to be prepared. So I think it's unfortunately Bayern Munich's to lose in the Champions League. I would love to see Juventus win it. We all know Juventus never win the Champions League in a simple season. There's always got to be something. There's always got to, the very first time was a very tragic event. The second time was a penalty shootout. So, you would think to yourself, well, we've got a global pandemic, empty stadiums, it's playing into Juventus' hands. But, we were touching on earlier about the older players and, possible injury crisis. I think players will just be exhausted or injured by the time the Champions League comes along. So a double for me.
Double for you. Auber.
Treble. And homage to one of the nicest people on Twitter, Treble Believer. Coppa Italia will be. I'll be on. Coppa Italia will be tricky. I mean, Friday's going to be a downer for us, but I think we'll get through. And the Serie A, you know, with Ronaldo, we should. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less because that's why you brought him in, apart from him to win the Champions League. And the reason why I say Champions League, even though we're 1-0 down to Lyon, is Graeme's touched upon it. Every time there is some sort of controversy around football or the world as we know it, but particularly around football, Juventus somehow, somewhere, does it in an empty stadium. At Lisbon, if it's going to be the final, close to home, obviously in Europe, and they'll win the Champions League in an empty stadium, and it'll be like FIFA, yeah, hold the cup up, but there's no one to cheer, you know, and the tinny voice. So for some reason, if it wasn't the coronavirus, I would say the double. But the pandemic and all the players, we might just be lucky, guys. Under this period, like Italy, when they won the World Cup in '82, Rossi scandal, 2006 scandal of, you know, Calciopoli, which is bullshit anyway. But then Juventus, you touched upon Hersel. I just see it. It could happen, guys. If we beat, once we pass Lyon, you know, treble.
Coppa Italia. Win. Serie A. Win. Champions League. Win. Cristiano Ronaldo. If there's one good thing that come out of this, we just had an absolute freak, been able to fully recover, come back a little bit faster, come back a little bit hungrier, come back ready. He's our game breaker. Sarri's got to figure out the rest of the pieces. He's ready to kill for us. And with the pandemic and all the rival fans ready to use every excuse in the goddamn book, it's going to happen. It's treble time, baby. And I'm ready. And I'll be dishing out striped hearts towels for all the rival fans to soak up those damn tears, baby. Treble.
So I'm the negative one for once.
What's that?
So I'm the negative one for once.
Listen, if we do the treble, go do Luca Toni celebration all the time, you know?
Luca. Yeah, no, I'm sticking with it. Stuck with it on first, so I'm staying with it. I've been saying it for a while now too, and just, you know, we have our chats and stuff on weekends. It's just, if there was a year, you know, it takes something like this that you just, I don't know. It's just, it always surrounds Juve, and it would just make sense. The final getting moved, Lisbon, it's just the wheels are in motion. It's going to happen. It's in the stars. They're starting to align.
Hey, Ronaldo in Portugal.
It's happening. It's happening, boys. Guys, thanks for joining me on the discussion. It's been awesome.
Pleasure as always.
For, checking out. Oh, absolutely. Always a pleasure having you guys on. I'm looking forward to getting the games going again. Everybody, please subscribe to the YouTube channel too. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up for the matches. You guys will see very, very soon, starting on Friday. And yeah, just stay tuned. There's going to be part 3 of the preview coming up later on this week as well. As always, until next time, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.
Fino alla fine.
Ciao.